Good morning and welcome back to the allotment. It's the 22nd of July and the plan today is just to lift a couple of rows of potatoes and possibly some onions, but the forecast is a bit mixed, so I don't know how much of it I'll get on camera. The potatoes I'm going to be lifting are earlies. I can't remember the varieties, I'll have to double check. I know the first one begins with an A, but I can't quite read the label, so I'll have to go back through my records and check. I'll put the information on the screen. And then we've got Monfauna, which is the second one. As you can see, the tops are starting to go. I don't like to leave the tops in too long like this because they are more susceptible to picking up blight, which could then transfer to my other potatoes. So what you will see is I will transfer all the tops into used compost bags, and those will be taken off site. Obviously the potatoes will go into trugs and taken back home as well, but I like to get the tops away as quick as I can so they don't harbour any disease, because it could transfer to the tomatoes as well. Might also pick a few beans while I'm here. You can see the beans are well laden, and behind the beans you can see that I've got quite a lot of sweet pea seeds, which, if you remember from the previous video, I said I was going to let them go to seed this year and save some of my own seeds. I will buy some new ones as well, but it'd be interesting to save some of my own seeds. So I'll put the camera down and get on with the work. Okay, so as I said, I've got a bag for the tops to go in, get them off site as quickly as I can, and I've got a trug for the potatoes. As you can see, these tops are starting to die back, and that's when they're most susceptible to blight. And the changing weather that we've had, where we're getting some rain after a long spell of dry weather, I think the blight should be moving in fairly quick. So these are the ones that were, these are the potatoes that were earthed up. Acoustic, that was the name. So let's see how these are doing. That's not good, that one's rotten through. Another bad one. Some of these are misshapen. Try and get them all out. So these aren't bad. Okay, I've just got to the last potato. So there was 8 potatoes in the row. What's concerning is there's some holes been dug, I suspect by one of our furry friends. So I'll just keep an eye out for any potatoes that have been nibbled. Okay, so that's all the acoustic potatoes that have been lifted. So there's half a trug's worth there. That's from 8 potato plants, so it's a fair yield. And the beauty, I think I've had 3 potatoes that I've had to discard through damage, so that's quite good. There's a few that have got a little bit of green on top where they come to the surface and I hadn't noticed. But overall, a good crop, and I'm quite pleased with that. That'll keep us going. So the next row is Monfora. I'll put the exact variety up. I need to get another bag and get the other trug. Not sure how well you can see this, but if I just put it by the camera, you can see that's one that's been nibbled by one of our furry friends, so that'll be discarded. But like I say, that's the only one that I can find that's got damage like that. There's a couple more that have sustained some sort of damage and rotted through, but overall I'm happy with the crop. Okay, so this is the last potato in the row. Bit of damage on that one. Okay, so that's the Marfona. Again, 8 potatoes were planted and that trug's pretty full, so a better crop on the Marfona. So that's probably next year. We might not grow the acoustic, may grow more Marfona. Seems to be a good potato. A little bit of damage, mostly with the fork, but we'll sort those out and those will be used first. Okay, so that's the potatoes lifted. I'll probably go and lift the onions next. Whether I'll get that on video or not, I don't know, because the dark clouds are moving over. So I'll get all this cleared away, all the potato tops, and I'll get these potatoes in the car, and then I'll have a go at doing the onions. This is the onion bed. I'm going to lift the onions. These are the main crop onions. You can see there's some weeds in this bed. Basically what I've done is about 3 or 4 weeks ago I stopped watering these onions. Obviously if it rains I can't stop that happening, but I stopped watering them and I didn't disturb them at all. I've just left them in the ground. You can see most of the necks have fallen over, so they're ready to harvest. And I'll make a start, just pull them out. So these look quite decent onions. I'm keen to pull them up today because we had a bit of rain last night, and there's a couple of days where there's been rain. I don't want them sitting in water or in dampness, so it's surprising that this bed, unlike where I've lifted the potatoes, this bed is still quite damp. So it's obviously to do with the composition of the material that's in here. You can see the spent hops sitting on the top. Come back and lift those in amongst the weeds. Just checking to make sure there isn't too much damage. These should dry off quite nicely. Lifted the red onions. In fact, what's going to happen is when I've lifted these, I'm going to get the red onions. Those are going to be trimmed off and go back home because they're pretty much dry. And these will go in the polytunnel to dry off. Okay, so there's, I mean, you can see that there's quite a nice looking onion. Okay, so as you can probably see, the sun's coming out now quite a bit. The threat of rain seems to have passed over. Not sure if that's good or bad. Some of the crops desperately need a bit more rain. Okay, so in total, we've had a good harvest of onions that were grown over winter in the polytunnel. We've had a not so good harvest in terms of the winter onions that were grown outside, and I think that was due to the very dry, hot spring that we had. We had a decent crop of red onions, and now we're having a decent crop of these main onions. Okay, so that's all the onions lifted. We've got a nice big truck full. I say the job now is to get those dried out, so those will go in the polytunnel and be spread out. The red onions I've got in the polytunnel will come out of there. I've got no plans. Just seen one onion that's no good, it's rotted away. That's not bad. One onion that's rotted out of all of those I've picked. Okay, so as I was saying, I've got no plans for this bed and the one the other side of me. I can't put brassicas in because I know they had clubroot last year. So that's the only crops I'm likely to put in. Whether I try and get some more collies and some more calabres going. But the only jobs left for me today now, apart from drying the onions out, will be to pick a few beans. And I can see the climbing French is absolutely full. So I'll get on with that. Okay, so those are my two heavy jobs for today. See you again soon. Bye.